What is this? A bootleg? Get this out of my face. Why would I want a bootleg? Why would I want something where I have no idea what kind of quality I'm getting or if anybody even cared when they made the motherfucker? Look, all you need to know about me is I am all about legit, authorized, professionally made vinyl. That is all I want. Mark my words, I will never buy bootleg vinyl. Okay, fine. Eventually, I did buy some bootleg vinyl, but that was a pretty accurate representation of me about 8 years ago. But here we are in 2024, and let's talk about some of my bootleg or unofficial vinyl releases. So I'm going to break this up into 3 separate categories, which are essentially 3 separate kinds of releases that and why I want to buy them. The first category is albums that have not been released on vinyl, and at the time of me purchasing the unofficial version, I feel like they're probably never going to get released to vinyl. First up, and actually my most recent, is Pantera, Power Metal, the very first album with Phil Anselmo on vocals, and don't they look lovely, folks? This album first came out in 1988, and as a lot of people know, Pantera, and even in recent years, the remaining members of Pantera don't talk about any of the pre-90s Pantera stuff. 3 albums prior to this, they had a completely different vocalist and kind of a more glammy, straightforward hard rock sound. And for some reason, even in the early 90s, when they were promoting new Pantera stuff, they were referring to Cowboys from Hell as their first album, completely even ignoring this one. And it's always been interesting to me because a lot of us are fans of everything they did. And over the years, it's become increasingly more apparent that this album is never going to get a proper reissue on anything. So you see these bootlegs popping up here and there. And I came across one recently, and honestly, even this one, I tried to find on Discogs like this version of it, and the most recent version on Discogs is from 2021, and this is different from that. So I think this might be a 2023 repressing of this album. And it's, if you look, like it's good. It is good quality. There's the back cover as well, and then there's nothing on the inside, which some of these bootlegs come with like an insert of some sort, but this one is on red vinyl. But if you look, like the label doesn't have Pantera Records, and a lot of the other ones say Pantera above the Metal Magic Records part, and so this one just says Metal Magic Records. So that's why I'm thinking this one is a different pressing than the ones that are already out there. Now, that being said, some of these earlier pressings, I look at reviews and apparently the sound's not always that good. This one sounds fantastic. So if you're able to find the Power Metal that doesn't say Pantera, and the logo on the actual record, get it, because I was surprised at how good this sounds. So if you're a fan of the album, that's the one to look for. I seriously doubt this will ever get a proper reissue. Who knows? Maybe way out after I'm dead and gone, they'll finally do it. I don't know. But I was very happy to add this to my Pantera collection. And it's one of those cases where the unofficial vinyl is actually really good. Next up, an album that I just got tired of waiting for a repress, and there still isn't one yet, but there might be. The self-titled Alice in Chains album, the 3rd full-length Alice in Chains album, also called Tripod by some people. Since they've been doing the reissues, like they have a Jar of Flies one coming out, then maybe when you get to the 30th anniversary of this album, maybe they'll finally do a reissue on vinyl. I ended up coming across this one, and it was only like $30, but as you can see, like it looks pretty damn good, and it's very good quality. Now, the interesting thing is that all the listings that I see, because I think this is a 2022 repressing, all the listings I see have it listed as Columbia as the record label, which is interesting because it's an unofficial release. And that raises a lot of questions because I've seen a couple releases. I have another one I'm going to talk about where if you try to connect the dots as to, well, who put this out? Sometimes it seems like labels put out unofficial versions. Is this thing anything that anybody's seen out there? I wouldn't put it past them because maybe there's some sort of legal reason why it can't be an actual repressing and it has to be considered unofficial. I don't know. All I know is that these were available just in regular online stores. So let's take a look at this one. I believe this one is 2 different colors. The first disc here is a very nice orange, and if you look, they still got the the Columbia label. I'm pretty sure it appeared that way on the original European vinyl version from back in '95. And the other one here is this sort of white marbled, if you can see the marbling on there. Good quality vinyl. The only downside to this one is that there are no inserts. It's just, the gatefold and then, the credits on the back. And there are some versions I've seen that have an insert. But when it comes to bootlegs, I guess you can't be too picky. But the real question is, how does it sound? And it sounds fucking great. Now, whether or not it's just pressed directly from a CD, who the fuck knows? Because sometimes that can be done and it can still sound relatively good. Like, there was nothing about this where I went, ugh. I was very pleased with the sound of this. So once again, 2022 repressing of the self-titled Alice in Chains album, and it sounds good, which is funny to me because the quality of the image, like, look at the quality of the image there, like, everything's very good quality, and this is an unofficial release. And if you guys remember, I did a video about these Anthrax John Bush era reissues. I'm going to do a really long air quote to that were apparently legit through Megaforce. And I did a whole video about how the Stomp 442 is complete shit, and that one was official. So it just goes to show you that my previous stance about no bootlegs ever, sometimes you're going to end up getting something that's of a higher quality than something if some label backs it up and just doesn't want to put any fucking effort into it. Okay, one last proper album to go. This is another odd one. So this is the last Limp Bizkit album, Still Sucks, which came out in 2021, I believe. But this pressing is from 2022. Now, the artwork. The artwork is a little, it's not amazing. I mean, it's a pretty low quality image to begin with, but it still looks fairly good. And then, look at the inside of the cover is colored cardboard. That's pretty great. And then the vinyl itself is this nice sort of Pepto-Bismol pink splatter, kind of thing going on. And this one sounds pretty damn good, but it is an album that was just released directly to streaming. Who the fuck cares? But I just wanted to have it on vinyl, and it didn't look like there was going to be an official release. But let's talk about that for a minute. So after the album came out digitally, there was an official CD pressing by Suretone Records. And then around the same time, there were also unofficial vinyl from Suretone Records. And this one is put out by Suretone Records, which not only is handling all of this stuff, but even in like a Limp Bizkit music video, it said Suretone Records at the end of it. So this is another one of those things where I'm like, is this actually legit? But for some legal reason, they have to say that it's not. It's very strange. Once again, at the end of the day, it didn't matter for this because this sounds good, and I'm glad to have it on vinyl. But hey, if anybody works for Suretone Records, like, shed a little light on that if you can. I'm pretty sure that Limp Bizkit did the same thing with their last album as well. I think the only vinyl versions you can get are unofficial, but I don't know, maybe Limp Bizkit's just trying to cut out the middleman and Suretone Records is Fred Durst? Who the fuck knows? Either way, happy to have it. So let's move on to category 2 for my bootleg vinyl. All right, this category is for releases that were in no way intended to ever be released officially at all, because they're demos. And the first one I'm going to talk about, I had to get because it's from my favorite band of all time. And I think I got it at a record convention in 2018 2018. I think it was the end of 2018. But anyway, here it is. Metallica, Metal Up Your Ass, which is essentially the No Life Till Leather demo, plus the original recording of Hit the Lights that I think this is supposed to be the original first one that was on the first pressing of Metal Massacre. And if you buy Metal Massacre 1 now, it's an updated version of that recording slightly. But this one, it says Music for Nations on it, and it's nice quality. Got a nice photograph on the back there, and I was not disappointed by this either. I mean, it is a fucking demo on vinyl, and the one I got is on this cool milky clear. But see, Music for Nations even has the Music for Nations logo on it. But if Music for Nations is behind this release, then I'm guessing because it's not supposed to be officially released, that's why it's unofficial. I don't care. I'm just happy to have it. So if you don't have this is a really good version of this. The Discogs listing doesn't have a release date for this version, but I'm assuming around 2018. All right, that brings us to another demo for another one of my favorite bands of all time, Alice in Chains. This is the 1989 demos they did before they recorded their first album, Facelift. This one has no label information whatsoever. But once again, the quality of this, if you look at the photos on the back, it's very nice. I believe this one is just black vinyl. Yep, this one is just black vinyl. I don't know what the fuck that is. There you go. And the quality on this one isn't amazing, but I think the remaining copies of this demo aren't necessarily great to begin with. This is the kind of thing that if you're a really big fan, get it. It's called Unchained. I think this is the only version of this one. But yeah, I absolutely love hearing early Alice in Chains shit, so this was a definite must-have for me. Also, considering they put out that big-ass Facelift box set, and they did not put this demo in there, so I guess a bootleg is how I'm going to have to go. All right, this next one isn't necessarily a demo. It's a different version of an album with a different vocalist, and something that has been released by the band in different forms, but never on vinyl, and I just wanted it. This is Created to Kill from Cannibal Corpse. Essentially, this is the album that would end up being Vile before Chris Barnes left. So this is Vile songs with Chris Barnes on vocals, as you can see in the picture back there. Now, this one was put out by Reek of Death Records, and it's actually really well done. If you look, there's the back cover there, Reek of Death Records. And for what it is, sounds pretty damn good. But also, they did the work of doing a cool vinyl color, and I very much appreciate this combination of colors right here. This was released in 2022. You may be able to still find copies out there somewhere. Really, my only gripe is I'm not a huge fan of the image on the cover, but I guess considering the content of this, it's pretty appropriate. But yeah, overall, a pretty damn good unofficial release. All right, now time for the third and final category and the bulk of my bootleg vinyl. I'm gonna try to go through these quickly, so you're not here forever. But these are live concert bootlegs. Now, I do have a rule with live bootlegs, and for the most part, I want them to be of some sort of good quality, i.e. a soundboard recording, or like in many of these cases, a radio broadcast. First up here, we have one of three Nirvana ones I have. The broadcast 1987, Evergreen State College. Don't mind that date. Apparently that's not correct. And I'm pretty sure that picture of Kurt Cobain is not 1987 anyway, and that one definitely is not. Now, this was a live radio broadcast of a show Nirvana played when they weren't even called Nirvana. They were called Skid Row at the time. Now, they do play two songs that would end up on Bleach, but a bunch of others that were, I think aside from this, not ever really properly recorded. So this is kind of a cool, for a huge Nirvana fan like me, this is a cool thing to get, even if, they just kind of threw pictures together and didn't even get the date right. Apparently it was in May, not in April. Can it go in focus? This one is a nice colored vinyl though, so that's a plus, and it's yellow, which I do enjoy yellow. This record was put out by Room on Fire. Room on Fire is apparently an indie label that deals in a lot of these unofficial releases of all different kinds of artists. But for an old radio recording from 1987, the sound on this is pretty good. I don't have any complaints, and as a Nirvana fan, it's really cool to have this entire recording on vinyl. Skipping forward a year to 1988 for another Nirvana broadcast concert live at the Hollywood Underground Club in Seattle, Washington in December 1988. This is put out by Mind Control Records, and it's actually pretty damn good. The quality of it, I like the photos that they chose as well. I don't think this is colored vinyl. No, just black, but it's pretty nice. Mind Control Records is another label that puts out a lot of these unofficial live releases, and this is really well done. And it's just, like I said, with early Nirvana, there's not a whole lot of live stuff officially on vinyl, so it's cool to come across these. All right, on to the last of the Nirvana bootlegs, 1989. This one is a live performance that was also broadcast on radio. Also put out by Mind Control Records. This one's very good. And if you look, it's the same photo as that other one, but this one is more appropriate for this particular time of the band. And I'm pretty sure this photo on the back is correct, because if you look, there's Tad Doyle on the back, and I'm pretty sure this is when they were touring with Tad. And this one has songs from Bleach, of course, but also has an early version of Breed, which is pretty cool. This one's on white vinyl. And same thing, the quality is not amazing, but it's an old radio broadcast. And I think this company did the best they could with what they had. And it's a fun performance. There's even some drunk people in the crowd that Chris Novoselic has fun with. But yeah, this is a really good one. So I have been lucky with a lot of these sounding relatively good or really good. But I do have a couple that don't sound that great. Unfortunately, both of them are Anthrax unofficial releases. This first one is the oldest one that I have. This is an Anthrax live recording from 1986 from the UK when they were on tour with Metallica. Now, as an Anthrax fan, it's nice to have this on vinyl, but it is an audience recording done on some shitty tape recorder. And the release is pretty bare bones as well. I mean, just take a look at the back here. It just has the track listing, and that's really it. And the record itself doesn't even have a label. It just says 1 on one side and nothing on the other. The only date I found for this was 1986. I doubt this came out the same year it was recorded, but who knows? Maybe this is a 1986 bootleg. Either way, it doesn't sound very good, but it's a nice little snapshot. Also, what the fuck is that picture? It's an era of Anthrax where there's not really official live stuff out there anyway, so yeah, I'll take it. All right, next up, Anthrax and Public Enemy. I mean, Public Enemy is just on one track. Too Much Posse. So this is a live FM broadcast from 1991 when the bands were on tour together. This is actually just the same show that's on the Live Noise VHS from back in the early 90s. It does have one song different that isn't on the VHS, so that's something. And the presentation's pretty good. If you look at the back there, I mean, it's pretty cool. The flyers and stuff, it's very well done. And the vinyl is colored as well. It's a nice green, pretty basic, but it's a nice color green. Unfortunately, that's where the qualities stop. Now, this was put out by a company called Dear Boss. I haven't heard anything else that they've put out. Now, I don't think the actual recording of the show is Dear Boss's fault. The problem is it's strange because the volume isn't very loud, but over the entire show is a very loud, really deep humming. So if you want to turn up the volume, it's not good. But like I said, I don't think that was the label's fault. The label's problem is that they decided to put this out. Now, granted, this was an impulse purchase for me. I was on Discogs and I think I was buying something else and I saw that the seller had this. So I said, fuck it. I love Anthrax and I love this period of the band. So once I got it, I was like, well, it looks nice, but I'm never going to listen to it again because I can just watch the VHS and the quality on this is not great. So unfortunately, 2 strikes for Anthrax. But hey, we have another win for Alice in Chains. Live at Lorena Sheridan, 15th September 1990, the same year that Facelift came out. This one was put out by Mind Control Records as well, but I've seen different pressings of this same concert, and I've always been a little bit iffy on do I pull the trigger on this one or not? Because I'd like to have that. But after I found out that Mind Control puts out pretty good quality shit, I decided to get this one. And it sounds fucking great. Now, it is only a black vinyl, so that's not, that cool, but doesn't matter. It sounds really good. It's a radio broadcast that has held up very well, sounds really good, and captures the band at another early stage, which, as I said earlier, I absolutely love. So if you see this one floating around in the wild, get it. All right, wrapping up the live bootleg vinyl and the last I'm going to talk about on this episode. Thank you for being here. Another from Mind Control and another from Pantera. Live at the Hollywood Palladium, June 27th, 1992, which for me is peak Pantera. So, of course, this is filled with, you can get it, Phil. It's filled with songs from Cowboys from Hell and Vulgar Display of Power, and the band sound fucking great. This is another radio broadcast and black vinyl. Phil again on the back label there. Another FM radio broadcast that sounds really good, and it's from an era of the band that I absolutely love. And Mind Control Records nails it once again. So I'd say if you see that Mind Control label on some unofficial release, I would say get it, because what do I have? Four from them, I think, and they're all really great quality. So in conclusion, I'm going to talk to 8 years ago me. Hey, not as old head. The newer kind of bootleg reissues and the care that is going into them most of the time is actually pretty fucking good for shit that you know you're going to want. Now, when it comes to older stuff you might run by, I don't really know, but it seems like the idea of the bootleg or the unofficial release is not quite as much of a scary thing as I once thought it was. So that's it. Hopefully this was entertaining for some of you out there. If you're still here right now, then you are a definite shithead, and I thank you. All right, this video has been long enough, so I'm out of here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all again very soon.